Let me ask you about the hearings next week. You said to the New York Times that this was like a tapestry and that there are threads and you're seeing more and more the more you get into it. How big is that tapestry? Is it getting bigger? How do you feel like you've got a handle on it, or does it just keep getting bigger?
There is so much speculation and so many stories and so many leaks that it's very difficult to determine the facts of the Russian involvement in our elections last fall, the extent to of that involvement, and also whether or not there was collusion or collaboration with members of President Trump's campaign team. And that's why the hearings this week are so important, particularly the hearing on Thursday with Mr. Comey. This will give us a chance to get his perspective on the issue of Russian involvement and also on the issue of collaboration or collusion. What has he seen? What initial judgments has he made?
You've mentioned that I think because of that complexity, you might benefit from having a special investigator on the committee. What is that? The benefit of that would?
It is. This is extraordinarily complex, and we have a wonderful staff of experts in intelligence. But I think we would benefit from having an experienced investigator overseeing the investigation. I will say every member of the committee has been extremely active in reviewing the evidence that we do have so far.
How much of your time does this take up, all of that evidence?
It's taking up a great deal of time. I've made 3 different trips to CIA headquarters to go over the raw intelligence. That's information that we don't usually get to see. One reason that I'm so eager to question Mr. Comey is in the letter in which the president fired the former FBI director, there's a very interesting phrase in which he says, while I am very grateful that you on 3 separate occasions informed me that I was not a subject of the investigation, that phrase raises a lot of questions in my mind. Does Mr. Comey agree that that is what was said? Why would he tell the president that? What was the tone and the context of those discussions on 3 different occasions, if they in fact are accurately portrayed in this letter?
Also, Mr. Comey at one point said that in testimony, he said there was no effort to block this investigation. So how do you see squaring those 2 things?
That is one of the reasons why it's so important for us to hear from Mr. Comey before our committee, as well as other witnesses. The acting director of the FBI also said that there had not been an attempt to influence the investigation. And yet we hear of all these memos to the file, all of these dinners and meetings between President Trump and the FBI, the former FBI director. So we need to hear directly from Mr. Comey on these important issues.
In your mind, is there a space where the president could have put pressure on him, but pressure is not all the way to obstruction?
Absolutely, and let me give you an example of the conversation that allegedly occurred about Michael Flynn. If the president said, look, I just fired the guy, I feel bad for him, what do you think's going to happen? That's one thing. If, on the other hand, the president said to Mr. Comey, I want you to end this investigation of General Flynn. I want it ended now. And if you don't do so, you're going to be in trouble. That is a whole different nature of a conversation. And that's why the tone, the exact words that were spoken, and the context are so important. And that's what we lack right now. And we can only get that by talking to those directly involved.
All right, Senator Collins, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in a moment.